Welcome to Coffee with the Mayor. I'm Felicia Donnelly. I'm filling in for Deb Vercelli today. She's out on vacay. We're broadcasting live from the top of Tampa Bay in beautiful downtown Oldsmar. I'm here with our host today, Oldsmar Mayor Eric Seidel. These segments are featured each Wednesday following an Oldsmar City Council meeting for our community. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning.
Are you nervous at all?
I am very nervous. I am not Deb.
You're going to do great. I have complete confidence.
So thank you. Before we begin, we encourage our viewing audience to submit any questions that they have during the segment by commenting on our Facebook Live page. We will do our best to try to answer all of your questions. But just in case we don't, you can always email the mayor, Eric Seidel, directly at eseidel@myoldsmar.com regarding anything that we discussed today. Coffee with the Mayor was developed by our mayor to keep our residents, businesses, and community partners informed on highlights from last night's council meetings. So let's get started. First on the agenda was a key first responder was presented to the council manager award last night. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. It was our fire chief, Jason Schwabe. He's been here 20 years now, and he does a great job for us. And of course, this past year with the pandemic, just all of the multiple changes that took effect that we needed to implement. So he went above and beyond. Councilmember Saraki presented it to him, did a nice job presenting it. And of course, the crew came out, so they were there to support the chief, their boss. And no, it was good, really nice, well-deserved, and but it was a nice presentation.
So nice and so well-deserved. They do such a good job. The Business of the Quarter Award for the third quarter of 2021 was presented to Tom Price with the Oldsmar Tap House and Golf Cart Café. Who presented this award, and what was it about?
It was presented by Vice Mayor Knapp, and the award is given out. It's in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, who nominates, and they kind of run part of that program. But Tom and Catherine, his wife, who opened up the tap house, reopened it, I should say, their new management. But, they're one of these folks who live here. They're opening a small business here because they believe in downtown. They wanted to really be leaders and jumping out there and supporting what we're trying to do in downtown. And so it's got a great vibe over there. I go in there from time to time, and it's not like a rowdy kind of place, nothing like that. I mean, I see in there kids having something to eat with their parents. They got, hot dogs, and I always get the meatballs, even though it's not really part of my diet. But they do a great job, and they're investing a lot, and they're the first ones out since we really put this renewed energy on downtown, so it was well-deserved.
Yeah, I always see some golf carts down there, and I heard they have a great Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday is very popular. The only problem is by the time we get out of council normally on Tuesdays, there's slim pickings. I don't know. So either that or the mayor has to make the meeting shorter.
So, Tom, if you're watching this, maybe we need some more tacos.
A little more tacos.
So a presentation was made for the proclamation of Fire Prevention Week, which is this week. Who was the proclamation presented to, and can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Oh, you know what? I realized I just made a mistake. It was actually Councilmember Graber who presented Business of the Quarter, and Vice Mayor Knapp presented this award. So my apologies, gentlemen. You look so much alike, I get you confused. But in any event, all joking aside, no, it was presented by Vice Mayor Knapp. It was presented to Captain Dave Young and the crew. The crew, like I said, they were there. So. But they're really putting an emphasis this year on a theme of learn the sounds of fire safety. And, different alarms, for example, have different meanings. And so there might be a gas that goes undetected that a certain alarm will pick up on, which are common in people's homes, or smoke, and what to do. So when you hear the alarm, it's not you have to stop and think about it. It's that you know what to do. You've practiced it with your family. And so they're really putting a major emphasis on it. You can learn more about that at myoldsmar.com and come and see what they're doing. But that's really the driver this year. It's a good practical approach. you know?
It sure is. It was something that I don't think I've ever even thought about myself. So I think that's really important.
I haven't. I think I'm going to make sure we listen to the alarms at our house just to play it safe.
So this is the beginning of the start of the fiscal year for 21-22. Some unique items were submitted for purchasing and contract approvals for this next year. Were the items approved, and maybe you can share a little bit about them?
Sure. A lot of people, if you watch last night's meeting, and I encourage anybody who wants to get more into the detail, we hit the high levels here, so try to keep it around 20, 22 minutes. But October 1st starts the new fiscal year, and so this is kind of a reoccurring, we were joking a little bit last night about it's the parade of purchasing that takes place in October, because the new budget comes in. And so you'll see that our departments, they're planning for their year. They don't necessarily go purchase this stuff all at once, but they get it approved by council so they can make their plans. And a lot of it, for example, last night had to do with the reverse osmosis plant, where we had sodium hydroxide, sodium hypochlorite, carbon dioxide, so those were some of the materials that go into making our water potable, drinkable. And so then there's also the vehicles. We put in our capital improvement budget. We replace vehicles on a regular basis. And we've had some issues in terms of the supply chain, not being able to get the vehicles when we need them, when we want them. And so a strategy that we've come up with, as you know, is to let's commit to multiple purchases, and we don't have to take them all at once, but we can stagger them out. But it positions us a little different. So that's what we did last night, and I think we approved 8 vehicles to be purchased. I thought we were going in the car business at first, but, I got to watch out. And, of course, I know, so I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. As most of you know, that our city manager is retiring, and Felicia will become city manager on the 1st. And I was teasing her because I sense that she's getting all these big purchases done while Al's still city manager. See, that's smart. That's a good sign. You're using your head there.
That's 8 vehicles less.
That's 8 vehicles less she has to purchase. And some of the services, we have the dreaded sludge hauling and disposal services, which is all the byproduct that comes out of the solid waste. So we approve that and some other things. But pretty housekeeping. Pretty much housekeeping stuff.
So then last night under the city council portion of the agenda, the air traffic noise was brought up during the September 23rd City Council meeting. That was the last council meeting. A citizen spoke during open forum regarding the air traffic noise affecting Oldsmar. The City Council discussed that further last night. Can you tell us how that went?
Sure. It is becoming a growing problem. And, I live right over here and have them going over my house as well. So I hear the problem and how it's changed. And years ago, I think it was Linda Norris and myself, who were both on council. We attended when the FAA had an open house, and they were talking about changing these patterns. And we met with the leadership over there, and they told us we're making these changes in part because it should improve the noise pollution, so on and so forth. And it did, but pretty much for Safety Harbor, not really for Oldsmar. And, here's the thing, what a lot of people don't realize is that we have multiple airports in this tiny region. And you know that I'm a student pilot, right? And so when I fly out of here, it's very tightly controlled. And, you've got MacDill, you've got St. Pete, you've got Tampa, you've got Clearwater, St. Pete, and it's all controlled airspace. So it's very tight. But we hope and think that there are possibly some things that can be done to mitigate some of the noise. We at least, as a council, decided last night that we're going to send a letter from all of us, collectively from the council as a city, requesting that they once again look to see if there's any changes, because sometimes they will make a change. I will tell you quite honestly, and Andrew Knapp, our vice mayor, serves on the Citizens Board for noise reduction. I forget the actual name of it, and he goes to those meetings. But it's difficult though, because the FAA, they control everything in the sky, and they're not super flexible. their response sometimes is, well, you live near an airport, and so, but we think as a council, maybe it helps. Maybe it helps because it comes formally from us. And so we decided last night by consensus that we would send a letter and complain. So,
wow, that's responsive and impressive, right? So,
well, you try to be. We look at ways that we can have an impact as a council, and it kind of rolls right into another major issue that's taking place right now, and that has to do with FEMA's new Risk Rating 2.0. And for those who aren't familiar with it, I think most are getting familiar with it. It's a combination of the new flood maps taking effect, which is having a major impact on Oldsmar. We have communities where they didn't need flood insurance before. And, for those who may not be completely familiar with the situation, if you have a mortgage, the mortgage company will require that the lender will require that you have flood insurance if you're in a flood zone. And so when they change the maps and they update them, it suddenly goes where somebody's had a home, never had to have flood insurance, suddenly they do. And we've been talking about this for a while, and until they get the notice in the mail, it's kind of hard to really wrap your arms around it. But the net effect is it's going to cost a lot more people to insure their homes. And for those who already have flood insurance, the scary thing is that they have the ability they change the way that they're doing the risk analysis, right? So they'll now be able to increase citizens' premiums who are existing policyholders by a maximum of 18% every year. And this is significant when you start to think about how that compounds. And so it used to be that they put groups of risk together, which is very common for insurance, and they would pool the risk, and that's how they came up with rates. And essentially what they're doing, one of the major changes, is they are looking at individual homes and saying, what would it cost to replace the house? And what's significant about that is if you take a homeowner who has spent the money to build up and to go by what's the best practices that FEMA have been telling us for years to go do, in essence, what's going to happen is that when they look at your home versus someone who is much more directly in the path of a flood, your premium's going to be higher because they know it's going to cost more to replace it. And so it's really a counter system to what we've been promoting for years and years, and very carefully, as you know, with planning and redevelopment, working on those discounts and all those different things. So I had a conversation with Senator Rubio's office day before yesterday and spoke with Taylor Sanchez. He's there. And I've spoken with Taylor before and other things with the senator's office. And he's the Gulf Coast Regional Director. And Senator Rubio's filed a bill. It's been referred to committee. He's filed a bill to postpone the rollout for a year of these new rates while it gives Congress a chance to look at alternatives. And so we decided last night as a council, and by the way, there's bipartisan support. So it's not just, Republican or Democrat. Charlie Crist, who lives, of course, in Tampa Bay, he's supporting the delay of it as well. So in the House, and so and Congressman Bilirakis and so forth. And so we decided that we were going to formally support that and send a letter to that effect. And it's a way for us to try to help push that. I'm going to be at lunch today. I'm going to be at the Pinellas County Mayor's Council, where I'm vice president of it, and bring the subject up because I know a lot of the mayors were very concerned. We have a lot of coastal communities, and so we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, the city's already getting some questions. People are already calling the city to find out more. So thank you for sharing that. And then can you tell us a little bit about the CRS program or the ratings that we have that
Well, we've worked hard to build a rating program, and the way that program works is if you have as a city certain codes and you show that you enforce those codes, you can't just put them on the books. You have to show that you enforce them. They will give citizens discounts, and in our high risk area, that adds up to as much as 20%. And so in the non high risk area, it's 10%. It kind of feels like we've been shanghaied a little bit. I don't know how else to say it. I feel like we've been working on these things, and that's what happened. So we'll see what takes place, and we're going to follow that, and we'll be following up with our elected representatives who are very responsive to the city, and see if we can't help get that delayed and changed ultimately.
That's great news. So then, can you tell us other key items or actions, or do you have other announcements from the
Sure, I just have a couple things. Second Friday is coming up this Friday again. The Chamber puts it on. They do a great job right here in downtown from 6 to 10. Then we have Pawapalooza on Saturday from 10 to 4 at Orioles Park. That is always fun. And I actually am not going to be able to be there, and I hate it because I'm going to miss seeing all the dogs, but I don't mind not having the pressure of judging. People get serious about their dogs. So, but come out. That's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, we have the Sunset Sound concert series starting October 15th. We'll be out at Orioles Park. We have the St. Petersburg, St. Pete Drive, Complete Streets public meeting, which is October 12th. From 6 to 7:30 at Tico Hall. And it's a great opportunity to come and learn about what's being proposed for St. Pete Drive and get some input. And of course, we got the new Experience Oldsmar. Let me see if I can do this. Magazine. That's as good as it probably gets. Coming out, that our staff just does an amazing job at. So they do a real good job. So listen, we actually have a little bit of time. Not much, but a couple minutes. So Felicia, I know that you're not the city manager yet, and Al's still city manager. We all know that, and so we'll have more fun with this later. But I thought I'd ask you a little bit. I mean, it's 3 months, a little under 3 months before you take over as a city manager, and you've already been here for 5 years. Why don't you give our listeners just a little background on you? Because I don't know that while you've been here for 5 years, they may not really know your background. So I think it's nice for them to hear.
All right. Well, thanks for turning the tables on me. So I have a master's degree in urban and regional planning. So 20-year-old Felicia wanted to change the world, and a little older Felicia still wants to do that.
So now at 35.
At 35, I still want to change the world. So a master's in urban planning. I started working in a planning department for a county government in Louisiana. They're called parishes. And then I started doing land use planning, and then I shifted to transportation planning. I moved to Northern California. I worked on large transportation issues in the Bay Area. Then I got an offer to work in the private sector. That moved me to Tampa. So I worked for an engineering firm in Tampa. I did mostly transportation regional planning. I decided working for an engineer didn't give me the opportunity to give back to my community. So I wanted to be back in the public sector. I worked in Parks and Recreation for about 14 years in Clearwater, and then I came here to Oldsmar 5 years ago. So I come from a diverse background of city government, from operational units, from transportation planning background to Parks and Recreation, economic development. They all wrap into that. So that's my technical background.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a big help on the work that we're doing on the downtown redevelopment. It's nice to have another professional involved in it. So I got time for one more question. So it's January 1. You take over, I know Al's still going to be working on special projects for us, but, he'll probably be at the golf course that day. I'm just guessing, knowing Al. So what are you going to be most excited about come January 1st?
Oldsmar has a bright and promising future, and I'm excited to be able to lead that. I'm excited to listen to our community needs and and help the council match their vision to the community needs and to really move us forward in a progressive direction. I think we're there. Oldsmar has grown a lot in the past 5 years that I've been here, and certainly before that.
Well, there you go. You heard it right from her before she takes office. And I think you did a terrific job standing in for Deb. But guess what? I'm out of coffee. So you know what that means. It means, oh, do we have any questions? No questions today. All right. Well, that's good because I'm out of coffee, which means it's time to wrap it up. Felicia, thank you for stepping in. And, of course, let me thank Mark and Emily for Emily steps in here. She's off camera like Mark. You know, they just won't do that. But I want to thank our citizens for listening today, and we hope that you have a terrific day and go out and enjoy this beautiful weather. Hopefully we'll see you this weekend.